Hey, welcome everybody. My name is Broadus Palmer. I am founder and CEO of Level Up in Tech. But today we have a special guest from Dell and Apex. I want to introduce you to my good friend, Senior Director of Engineer at Apex, John Woodyard. Hey, John, introduce yourself to the people, brother.
Hi, Broadus. Thank you so much for inviting me here. Yeah, so John Woodyard. I've been now at Dell for about 2.5 years. Before that, I was with Microsoft and Amazon and also Oracle Cloud Infrastructure. So quite a bit of time in the cloud here. And yeah, I'm just really excited to be here and really excited to be part of Apex with Dell Technologies.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. And I know everyone is wondering, like, why are we meeting today, right? So let's talk about and introduce the reason for the meeting. So everyone, we're here today, once again, with my special friend, John, and we're here to talk about cloud. Yes, we're going to talk about the different approaches to cloud. We're going to demystify hybrid and multi-cloud confusion and also show how Dell and Apex are creating opportunity in that space. And then we're going to talk about how you, the engineer, whether you're transforming from a different career or all the way to a senior engineer, can take advantage of this and become a solution in the workforce challenge. All right, so let's get to it. You know, I know people have been ready for someone to have this conversation. So let's get to the meat and potatoes, brother. So cloud is the new workforce, John. So what do you think about some of the challenges companies are facing right now today with cloud adoption?
You know, I think it all comes down to complexity. You know, there's, as you know, the cloud has been introduced and all that, you would think that a lot of things would become simpler. But as, you know, you look at like a multi-cloud and also hybrid cloud, things actually become more complex.
Right.
And, you know, I think it's important for us to define, you know, what is multi-cloud versus hybrid cloud. You know, multi-cloud is when you actually are using multiple public clouds, where hybrid cloud is where you're using your on-prem equipment, you know, your own data center, your own servers, and also a public cloud. And both situations still exist today. And I don't think either of them is going to go away anytime soon. And when you talk about, you know, when you talk about complexity and how we got here, you know, that's the key thing is people became multi-cloud most of the time today, multi-cloud or hybrid cloud, much more by default or organically. You know, it's like for a startup, you know, they started in the cloud, right? And they've always been in the cloud, but then all of a sudden they find out that they actually need something on-prem because it's actually cheaper or because they have security concerns or something like that. Because there is a price point where it actually becomes cheaper to run your own hardware than it does to use a cloud provider. And a lot of people don't realize that, but I've been talking to some small and medium-sized businesses where they actually ran into that. And so then they find themselves in that hybrid cloud environment. And then when it comes to like existing corporations, again, it's like you have your own environment, your own on-prem servers and storage. But then all of a sudden, a group decides that they need something that's only provided in the public cloud, or they need it faster than you could actually provision it on site. And so next thing you know, they're moved to a public cloud. And then next thing you know, a different group uses a different one. So you have some people using AWS, another one using Azure. Yep. And but as this happens, it becomes very complex for companies and also for engineers. You know, you're talking about people coming into this career field. It's like, okay, do I learn about Azure? Do I learn about AWS? Where should I actually be putting my attention?
Right.
And so again, that's the big thing that's going on right now. And, you know, neither is going to go away. You know, people are going to continue to use the public cloud. Companies are going to continue to have their own data centers or put their stuff in colos. Both are very valid situations. And so we're going to find that multi-cloud and hybrid cloud just continue.
Yeah. So, and to piggyback off your point where people that's transforming into this industry, really trying to figure out what's most important to learn, right? Which cloud service provider is the most important? And I tell them it's not really any one that's superior to the other, right? It's all about the business needs. So, you know, learning one, you can easily transition and learn the other, but it's just important if you're going to learn one, just focus on becoming and building your expertise more in that one. So when you can learn, let's say Azure, you have a basic and fundamental understanding of cloud, and now you can understand how Azure solves problems for enterprises as well. So great, man. Thank you for that answer and really talking about that. So now tell me, how is Dell handling it to make a smooth transition over to the cloud?
So I'm glad you asked that, because that's actually why I joined Dell and why they actually created Apex. So Dell has always been about trying to simplify things for our customers, and we build, really tight relationships with our customers. And the other thing too is our partnerships. In fact, that's one of the things that we've always put as a key ingredient to our success, is building partnerships with other companies. Mm. So, for example, we've always had a partnership with VMware. That's obvious, and we continue that partnership even as we split. But we also have had existing partnerships with Microsoft and Azure and Google Cloud. Then we just recently announced partnerships with AWS, SAP, Red Hat, and Equinix, which it was great because I actually got to fly down to San Jose and meet with the Equinix teams there. So it was really neat. Actually, I guess it was Redwood City.
So you got a little vacation.
Yeah, it actually was. But it's so much of that is really where we actually build our value to our customers, is by having these kinds of partnerships. Mm-hmm. And it's like, for example, our storage for us is very critical. That's something that we are known for, is our storage solutions. But for years now, we've actually had our storage software and our data protection software running in public clouds, where our customers can actually run them there. And in those public clouds, we store and protect more than 9 exabytes of data. So I remember before, we're talking about petabytes as being something huge, but exabytes, that's enormous. And so this is something that's already been there for a while. But then, like, recently, we just announced Apex Cloud Services with VMware. And so we're actually, this is a big thing where for the hybrid cloud user, where you can run, this partnership we have with VMware. We have Apex Data Storage Services, which has been out there for a few months now, but is actually now being distributed to even more companies or countries. Sorry about that. So it's being distributed to more countries. But then we have other things that are coming up, which are really cool. One is the Apex Multi-Cloud Data Services. And this is where we talk about simplifying things for our customers. So imagine, you need to store data, based upon what kind of security you need, your security needs, right? But also where it needs to be processed, right? Where it needs to be accessed, right? So what we're doing with our multi-cloud data services is we actually give customers the ability to sit there and take a look graphically and say, okay, I want this data stored in AWS and in Azure, or I want it stored in Google Cloud and AWS. And they can actually sit there and move it around and put it where it actually needs to be. Sometimes you're going with AWS because it's in a certain region, you're running certain amounts of compute against it there. Mm-hmm. Other times you actually want that data on site, and you can do that. So all of a sudden we simplify. So instead of going and trying to manage it yourself across multiple clouds, you can go to our software, which is actually, it's a managed service. So you go to our service and we'll actually take care of that for you. So again, simplifying things. We also have our multi-cloud data, our backup services. Mm. And this is, again, something that we're working on right now. And this gives us the ability, or gives our customers the ability, to go through and actually select what they want to back up, no matter where it is, right? And actually and store it in such a way that we provide, various cybersecurity capabilities as well as ransomware protection. And again, it's one of those things where somebody joining the field, going into this field, can actually go and see this and say, okay, cool. I only have to know this for protecting my data. I only have to know this for managing where I'm going to store my data, as opposed to trying to learn all these different clouds.
Right. Fully managed. And, all they have to do is just understand the basics and get to know it more intimately as they learn more. This is awesome, man. I love what you guys are doing. Let's go into more questions and let's demystify the hybrid cloud and multi-cloud for some folks. So share some of your key insights on why you think both of these are relevant in current environments.
Gotcha. So let's first tackle multi-cloud. Okay. So multi-cloud, as we talked about before, there is that organic growth into it that happens where one group chooses one and another group chooses another, and you have contracts now with both companies, right? But then there is the one that's by design, In fact, I was talking to a friend who works for a totally different company, but they actually implemented solutions where they could transfer workload between public clouds. But they had to implement it all in-house, so obviously not an easy thing to do. But they did it with the idea of that if prices changed, they could put more workload on one place than the other, or if availability was an issue, they could move it over. But that was a much more deterministic or by design kind of approach. And I think more and more companies, as they find themselves in this situation where everything is more by default and complex, will look at trying to do things more by design. And that's I think where we're going to see this multi-cloud strategy go. So when it comes to multi-cloud, and you're talking about the people who are learning and going into this field, so much of it is really about understanding what is cloud agnostic. How do you develop software? How do you run things in such a way that really doesn't matter where they are? And this is like, for example, we just announced also the ability like EKS, right, which is actually on AWS, but they have AWS anywhere. You can actually now run EKS on VxRails, Dell's VxRails.
Oh, wow.
PowerFlex and PowerScale, right? And so by knowing Kubernetes and this, you can run it in both places. Same thing with VMware. This is why we have such a tight partnership with, continue our partnership with VMware and then with AWS and Azure, is that ability to actually run VMware payloads where you want them. And so, again, trying to simplify what all an engineer, an operations person needs to learn and do to make their job easier, right? But now let's talk about that hybrid cloud. And again, a hybrid cloud is also one of those things that comes organically at first. An existing company has their servers, has their data centers, and all that kind of stuff. But then somebody wants to develop something, and it's going to take a month to get the servers on site, to start tackling it. And in fact, to kind of go back in time some, I think it was back in like 2010. There was some research done that I was privy to where it showed that if you're going to start your company and you have like 30 days to go to a venture capitalist, right? If you're going to build it yourself, acquire hardware, you're going to spend at least half of that 30 days trying to get all your hardware set, if not 29 days. And then you get like 1 day to develop software, right? Where when you went to a public cloud, that changed. You could spend 1 day setting up your infrastructure and 29 days developing your software. Well, that's where Dell really comes in here, where we want to put these solutions in with Apex, is you can now get your Dell hardware in a very short period of time. And with Apex, we're even working to get that shorter and shorter to the point where ideally it'll be much more on demand. So you can have that private cloud, you can have that hybrid, and you can be running those solutions like, for example, EKS Anywhere, or the same data storage software and data protection software that you could run in the public cloud or run on-prem, you can run in the public cloud. So that way you can get to developing your solution much faster. And so when it comes to hybrid, again, people were using their on-prem, they need to get it fast, they go to a public cloud. You still need both of them, right? And so, again, hopefully that demystifies it somewhat. Yep. But the idea is once it got to the public cloud, it was easy. It was really easy to use. And what we're doing now with the private cloud and with Apex is allowing having our customers be able to run those same solutions just right from the start. And so it's really easy in your private cloud as well.
Yeah, that's awesome. So now we'll ask, with all the things you said, how is Dell and Apex a key player in this space?
I think we're a key player in this mainly because of our customer engagement, where I don't know of many data centers or any data centers. Every place I've ever worked and all the friends I have Dell servers. They may have other servers, but they also always have Dell servers in their data center. So we have these really great relationships with our customers. But again, so much of it is also that partnership that we talked about earlier. These partnerships with all these cloud providers, whether they be infrastructure as a service, platform as a service, or software as a service. Those key partnerships allow us to simplify it for the engineer, for the operations person, so that way they don't have to be as, basically a jack of all trades with every cloud provider out there. They can understand what we're bringing to the table, and they can use that and abstract out that complexity.
So with what you said, right? Because I know I'm thinking, because I consider myself a man of the people for people who want to transform into this industry, right? So if you are an engineer or a developer, how do you build the skills or knowledge to make sure you're more relevant to this type of work that we're hailing as the future of IT? Because what you explained to us right now is literally the future of what hybrid cloud is going to look like and multi-cloud is going to look like. So as an engineer or developer, how do I build those skills to really be an asset to a company like Dell or companies that's using Dell's products?
Well, from a Dell perspective, I know that we just did a refresh of our developer portal at developer.delltechnologies.com. It's like, is it Dell.com or delltechnologies.com? But I think both of them take you to the same place. And with that, we provide API reference, white papers on how to do things. We're really big into infrastructure as code, which is really the growing movement that we have across all of IT. Once you've converted infrastructure as code, managing large-scale environments, managing multiple environments, whether it be multi-cloud, hybrid cloud, what have you, becomes so much simpler, right? So much more deterministic. And so I think the key thing I would say, definitely go to our developer portal site. The other thing I would also say is when it comes to being a really great engineer, a really great operations person, it's not about just knowing a technology. It's not about just knowing AWS. It's not about just knowing Kubernetes, or it's not just about knowing that. It's about understanding the concepts behind it. You understand how these things work, diving deep into it. One of the biggest things I tell people when I'm coaching them on their career and how I made my career successful is first go deep, then go broad. And you think about it, like if you start off with, say, EKS, right, and you become an expert on EKS. Okay, well, now go broad. What else is out there? How does Azure do it? How does Pivotal Kubernetes with VMware? How does VMware do it? And if you understand those concepts, and you can easily go and switch between them without much hassle. In fact, same thing goes with like programming languages. You can go deep into a programming language, but if you understand the concepts, how they work, then you can pick up other ones very, very easily. And so I always tell people, first go deep, then go broad. But definitely, me being a diehard Dell techie, I always tell people, go to the developer.dell.com or delltechnologies.com and check us out. It's a new refresh. I was just checking out the other day, and I was like, okay, this is really cool. So.
That's awesome, man. So I want to thank you so much for even just spending time with us talking about, demystifying the hybrid and multi-cloud confusion. And then we talk about how Dell and Apex, their approaches to cloud, and then understanding how engineers can really transform themselves and learn more about this technology and really deeper context of how it solves organizational problems across hybrid cloud and multi-cloud environments. Once again, folks, I have my great friend here, John Woodyard here, that has just explained to you the amazing things that Dell and Apex are doing. So if you want to learn more about the product, if you want to learn more how to use it, I suggest you do what John just said and head over to developer.dell.com. I thank you all so much for joining us as we learn more about the amazing things that Dell is doing with the Apex technology and cloud. Join us in the later videos, in the later sessions, in the later meetings as we continue to watch Dell take over the world and continue to bring more solutions to your hybrid and multi-cloud environments. All right. My name is Broadus Palmer. This gentleman here, John Woodyard, Senior Director of Engineering at Apex. And we see you guys later. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks, Broadus.